I come from a background, believe it or not, I actually have a library degree that I got back in the 70s. But I found that as we moved around, my husband and I, it's really hard to get a job, especially if you want to do school librarianship, where you had to keep getting certified state by state. So eventually when we were in South Carolina, I went and got a business degree. I got an MBA with an accounting concentration. And what that did for me is it allowed me to work with small businesses. And I've done it in Delaware, Pennsylvania, Maryland, and now in Ohio and some in Michigan. And I did it as self-employed for quite a while. This opportunity at the library, one of the things I saw when I was working as a professional that was self-employed, and anybody who's self-employed knows this, is I would get people that would say, I really need your help, but I don't have any money. So I would do classes that were affordable, but I would still see people, and I thought they had great ideas. And so I would send them places where I know they could get free help. And a lot of times that free help didn't amount to getting them going. And so when this opportunity at the library came around, it was like, oh my goodness, you mean I get to work with small businesses and I can work with them for an hour or 2 hours, or I've got some clients that come back once a month and I don't have to send them an invoice. So for me, it has been a real pleasure to be able to do this. And since I've had a passion for women forever, probably because I am one, but also I come from a long line of women empowerment. In fact, I should have put my baseball cap on that says, one of my friends gave it to me. It says feminist, but it always shows up backwards. And the letters are all made with flowers. So, which I don't know how she found that out, but she did. So anyways, what I love to do is help people figure out what they're doing. And like Nina said, sometimes I may sound like, okay, maybe I'm a little bit harsh, but what you're going to get when you work with me is somebody who has not only been working with people for over 30 years, I have seen, and I've also myself done some pretty stupid things. So I can say, well, you know, I know somebody that tried that, and this is kind of how it went. But it gives you an opportunity to take my expertise and we can look at it. So what I do at the library is I end up showing you through our databases and our research how to do things that when I was a consultant, my clients paid me to go to the library and do this research, and then I bring it back to them and they thought I was wonderful, and I'm just sitting there, okay, so they could have done that for free, but they chose not to. So I'm going to show you some of these secrets. Now, Nina's going to send you my flyer at the end. And what you'll be, oh, she just posted it. Thank you. This is just my 2-page of business resources, and it's yours because I know when I go through this, a lot of times people say, now, what was that? What was that? So you'll have it so you can refer back to it. We have over 30 databases that I use regularly for business owners. I don't have time in this short period, so I'm going to show you just a few things that I think are really important. So I'm going to start with the library world. So I'm not going to ask, if you don't have a library card and you live in the state of Ohio, you will have one today before you go to bed, because they are turning around e-cards now right away. So if you go and you have evidence that you live in Ohio, they will get you an e-card right away, and you'll be able to start doing all the things I show you how to do. If you live in, and I'll just say this, if you live in Michigan, it is, and I'm not sure how they're processing these right now, but it is $75 a year, which when you see the bulk of the data, it's dirt cheap when, if you just do one report. But the other thing is, if you work for a business in Ohio, you can still get a free library card. So if you don't have one, I'm going to start sharing because I want to make it easy. So I want to see, let's do advanced. I want to share screen 2. There we go. Okay. So It says I'm sharing. Do you see the library's website? Okay, good. This is one of the downsides I find of Zoom is I don't know what you see, so I have to stay. So this is the library's website, and you just go here and you get a library card. But I want to show you something that happens to me all the time. So if anybody's heard of the business, it's in Perrysburg, it's called Gathering Volumes. They do on a regular basis, they have people come and talk that are authors. And they have one coming up that I want to see. And when I saw that, my first thing to do is, oh, let me go to the library and see if we have the book. Now, granted, I'm not going to be able to check out the book right now. So it's called Be Not Far From Me. So I put it in the search box and I click search. And there it is. And it says there's 3 copies on hold. But these are physical books, so I'm not going to be able to get them right now. So a lot of times I'll go and look at ebook text. Don't have that. And then maybe I'll say ebook audio. So what's our first reaction? So this one doesn't exist. A lot of times we do, what we all do, what I do too, is you go to Amazon and you say, ooh, does Amazon have it? Can I get it? So I've clicked on Amazon and I want to show you a thing called an extension. First of all, I should tell you, we at the library, we use Chrome or Firefox almost exclusively. And this is because we can rely on our databases responding best with these. So like Reference USA will tell you if you're using Edge or Microsoft, it's just not going to work. So we stick with that. So there are things called extensions, which I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but you'll see right here, there's a bunch of books. So write down the extension, and this is a Google Chrome extension. It's called Library Extension. And let me show you what happens. So I click on this book because it wasn't at my library yet. And when I click on it, all of a sudden over here on the right, things start happening. And what it's doing is it is showing me that there are lots of copies available. I see here's an e-audio. I can get at Dayton. Here's the ebook I could get at Columbus, 5 of them. They have 5 licenses. How is it that I have all these library cards? Well, it is this simple. Because you live in the state of Ohio and you pay probably sales tax, you pay property taxes, you pay state taxes, you are allowed to have a library card with any library that has that gets state funding. So you can go here to Cleveland or to Columbus. You can apply for a library card just like you do it at Toledo. So at this point, I think I have 8 library cards. So I'm never lost for finding the book I want. I just have to poke around a while. But I show you that because as a business person, I am always looking for ways to save money. And I'm going to do something. I could show you my bookshelves over here, and I've cleaned them several times in the last few years because I got in a habit when I wasn't working at the library and I'd hear about a new book and I would just buy it. And some of them weren't that great, but some of them were. So now my theory is I read it first at the library, and then if I really have to buy it, I buy it. So I will tell you the last book I bought, it just came in the mail this week. It is called Untamed by Gwendolyn Doyle, and it is outstanding, but it's very feminist related, but it's also, it really had some excellent thoughts. And because of that, I needed to be able to copy things. So it's really hard when you're doing an audio or an ebook to copy. So I just wanted you to know that. So that's the library extension is where you can find out what other libraries have the book. And you are welcome to get library cards anywhere. And the other reason I do this is because each of the different libraries, most of the big libraries all have Reference USA and Merchant Intellect, but Columbus has something called, and if you click on their research, what's really nice is you can then say business. And this is a very expensive publication that we no longer have at Maine. and it no longer has a physical book, but it's encyclopedias of associations. So these are organizations. So if you are I'll show you exactly if it shows up. And there's my library card and my PIN, and I submit it, and it's going to let me go in. So I was working with someone because Nina suggested to her that she should do, I don't think you said the word either, and I don't know why. When she came to see me, this woman was looking for a job. When she went and talked to Nina, it turned out her passion was nonprofits, and Nina said, well, maybe you should do this as a contract. And when she came back and talked to me, I'm going, duh, virtual assistant. So I went in here and typed in virtual assistant. There it pops up. I've lost it. Virtual assistants. I have a hard time spelling, by the way. Maybe if I just put assistant. And it came up with the American Institute of Physics. There is actually a virtual assistant organization that we were able to find. And then I was able to send it to her, and it had its web link, it had information. So this is a database that you're not going to find at the Toledo Library. We don't even have the book anymore. So this is really a reason, if nothing else, that book in itself is worth getting a library card. All right, so let's go back to the Toledo Library. And I have a couple things I'm going to show you. I'll have time for questions, and then feel free to connect with me so we can talk further. Okay, so how you get to our research is you go to research. You can either do here and go to business and investments. And these are our business databases that start showing up. So all of these, it's worth it to some night just sit down and poke through these. We also have investment ones here. But the ones that I want to show you are ones that you can use today. So first of all, I know several of you are nonprofits. So we have the foundation directory online, and what I'll tell you, this is the light version. And the foundation directory, when all the libraries closed, they said, ooh, maybe we should help people. So they have allowed access on the web. So if you, and at the end, I will throw up my email and also Zach's, because Zachary Huber is our grant specialist. So you can do, I'm going to do Food Toledo. You can do a search and get some ideas of who's doing things here. And so it's going to give you the big foundation. These are the big grant makers that have done a grant in the Toledo market related to food. You can also notice it says upgrade. These are the things you're going to have to come to the library when we open, or connect with Zach, because Zach has access to the whole foundation directory online. So you could start poking through here and find out what was going on. It's a way that you can at least start doing some of your grant searching. Okay, so we're just going to go through these in alphabetical order. A lot of people, and I think when I was talking with Vanessa at the beginning, she said she's been doing a lot of reading and learning. Well, one of the things, if you're not familiar with lynda.com, notice this is a third-party provider and it's lynda.com. If you just go and type in lynda.com on the internet, you are going to be asked to pay $39 a month. And you don't want to do that. So you're going to come to the library and you're going to log on with your library barcode and your PIN. And if you have a really long library number, like you saw mine at Columbus, that's because you probably got a library card more recently. I've had my library card for 27 years. So when I got it, it was only 5 things. So that's not anything special about being a staff. It's just an old library card for an old person. It also means I never lost my library card. All right, so when you come in here, this is a great place to learn things. So just like Nina's recording this now, and you'll be able to go back and listen, these are actual webinars and live classes that people have put together. They have been what we call vetted. So somebody at lynda.com, which is owned by LinkedIn, has actually watched these, made sure they're accurate, and you can get information and they're always changing. So I've had lots of people asking about how do you do social media marketing. So here is a video. This one is, and he's probably, he's going to start talking. We're going to turn him off. This one is, oh, let's see what it said it was. I think it was an hour and something. But a lot of times you can download them and view them offline. And then in the notebook, sometimes they'll actually have files you can download and things you can do. So the whole idea is you're going to be able to learn how to do things. You can do, a lot of people do the Microsoft, here's Excel. So you can get actual certifications on how to, it didn't bring it up. There we go. So you can actually, what I wanted you to see is along the side, you can have a beginner class, intermediate, advanced. You can also look for certification. So Cert Prep, Excel Expert. So the next time you do a resume and you say, I'm an Excel expert, if you take this class and pass the tests, and it is a 4-hour class, you will actually get a certification that you are this, and you can upload it to your LinkedIn profile so that you have it on your LinkedIn profile to show people that you really are as good as you say you are. So it's really useful. There's lots of different softwares in here that are available. So that's lynda.com. So we're going to go back to the library, and it's usually easier to click on my link, but it doesn't seem to be today. Okay, and then we go back to research and do business and investments, right where we were before. So we did lynda.com. There's just such a wealth of information. Flipster has magazines you can read and download. Gale ebooks, I'm not going to go into it in detail, but I just want to show you. And again, I have to put in my barcode. If you're at the library, or if you're parked outside of one of our buildings, you don't have to put this in because you get on our Wi-Fi and we accept you. But from home, I have to do it just like everybody else does. Okay, so in Gale ebooks, and any of you have children at home that are doing, I mean, we all have children at home. If we have children, I guess they're all home. But anyways, when you get assignments and the kid looks at you and says, I have to have 3 resources and it can't be Googled, this is where you come to Gale ebooks. You can see just by the depth of the things they have, they're very up to date. Here's something on the opioid epidemic that's only 2 years old. So and these keep updating. So I'm going to just automatically go to business. This business plan handbook, you can search for business plan samples. So I know Michelle Quilter's on here. So when you have somebody that says, I don't know how to do a business plan, you can just go in here and say, okay, so they're starting an auto repair shop. You would click on this, you would search for auto repair, and you'll probably get a couple business samples. And the sample is going to have the financials, it's going to have a lot of detail. So it takes that angst away from doing a business plan because you've got somebody's sample right there. So there's, again, a wealth of information in here, and it is available 24/7. So we go back to our list. Come on. There we go. So while we're here, the next one I want to show you is Mergent Intellect. Mergent Intellect is one that is really useful when you're doing business to consumer. Oh, I went to the archive. I'm sorry. Go back. We don't need to go to old things. So that I can show you. See how I made a mistake. I went to archives instead of Intellect. We need Intellect. So when you click on this, depending on the size of your screen, you're always going to have this up here. But if you scroll down, you get these 6 boxes. First Research is a great place, especially if you're putting together a business plan, because you can find industry-specific information for your business. So when I was helping my daughter with her business plan, which, by the way, she did get her loan through Genoa Bank, she went to First Research, and we looked up tea rooms and coffee shops, and she was able to find a lot of very pertinent information about business growth, future growth, challenges, things like that. So it was really helpful. But what I want to show you here is consumer data. So this is where, and notice you have quick search and you have advanced search. Ignore that one up there. We go here. So I'm going to do a quick search for you just to give you an idea. So I'm going to start with my own zip code, which is Maumee. And so every time I add something, I have to add it to the criteria. So notice that's bright blue. As soon as I click it, it turns light blue. So now I'm going to say, well, gosh, what am I interested in? Because I don't need to talk to all 28,700 people in the Maumee zip code. Well, maybe because I have a dog who, fortunately, he hasn't come to say hi to us right now. I have a dog, so maybe I want to connect with other dog owners because I'm starting a walking group. And I think that right there for my lifestyle, I'm going to add that to this. And then, you know, it's a bunch of women my age and older. So I'm going to pick 51 to greater than 60. And I'm also going to say women. And now I'm going to add those to the criteria. And notice I went down to only 600 people in Maumee. And that's a number that I could actually do a postcard mailing. Say, you know, we're going to have an old ladies dog parade. I don't know. but anyways, at this point, if I want to look at these and see who these are, I could go here and I'm going to do a search. Notice they're all in Maumee, which is good. And here they are. So I'm going to look at Judith. And we're going to see that Judith is 62. This is her address. There's her her GPS. She's lived there 9 years. She's married. Kind of creepy. We have a lot of other information here about her. And so this is a way, now you get the phone number. Do remember that how many people answer their phone when they don't know who it is. What you don't get is emails, because again, how many of you actually click on emails from people you don't know who they are? So I built my entire business, Changing Lanes, doing postcard mailings. And when I first started doing training at the library, they didn't think that would make any difference. But for the first year, whenever I was doing a workshop, I would go into this database or Reference USA, and I would make a targeted mailing list to near where I was doing the class. And what I found is people would come and they'd say, well, this doesn't work. How do you know it works? And I would look and I said, did anybody get a postcard? And usually I'd have 4 or 5 people in the class that had gotten a postcard and came because of that. So this is going to be as accurate as any mailing list that you purchase, because most of those, when it comes to consumer data, they're made on change of address notifications, different things that we do. But the things I showed you, the creepy part of it, that's from leaving our digital footprint or getting a magazine or ordering anything online. All that data is captured and saved, and this is one of the places it goes. So that is Mergent Intellect. And yeah, you can have fun with that. And to build a database, I didn't go through that. I don't have time right now. but you just say build the database and then download it. Okay, so I want to show you Reference USA, which is two things about it. It's my favorite database, and it is one of our most expensive databases, but it's one of our most popular. So when we say a database is expensive, that usually means it costs us a lot of money. This one costs about $50,000 a year. But we also track our databases by the number of times it's used and divide it by its cost. So the cost for this one is under $1 per search. So, and I can't be responsible for all those searches. So other people are using this a lot. So what you see here is it actually is 10 different databases. You can also do the consumer lifestyles here. What you can't do here is make a list that you can take. So you couldn't say, I just want the women in mommy. You could say, I want women who have dogs in mommy, but you couldn't do just the women. So that's why I tend to go to Mergent. You can also, if you're in the healthcare industry and you want to connect with either physicians or dentists, this is a great place to do it. Job searching, what's wonderful about this is it will connect you to the company. So if you see a job in here that says it's going to be at Anderson's, you can go and click on it. It's going to take you over here and give you the details of Anderson's. So let's look at the details. One of my most popular questions is, can I get emails? About 10% of the data of the info in here will give you an email address, but you have to request it from Info Group, and they're going to charge you to have that email address. Again, when I was doing a lot of work with my business, I would have my secretary. She would go in here and I would tell her what databases I wanted her to look at, and then she would actually find the website for the company, go to the company, and typically you can usually find an email. I bet I can find Nina's on Women of Toledo, right? I know you can find mine on the library. So there are ways you can get email. It just takes a little bit more sleuthing. Okay, so I opened the advanced, and we can do any number of searches. What I'm almost always start is with the county. So we will do, first we have to select Ohio, and then we'll do Lucas. And it should be around 20,000 businesses. There it is. And notice we can go and view the results. And it tells us out of that 20,000, there are 1,300 that have an email. But we can, if we're not sure this is what we want, we can look at a heat map, which is going to show where the businesses are. It's going to be kind of busy because there's 20,000. We can do a summary by SIC or NAICS code. Or if we just want to do a chart that's going to take all that data and put it into a picture, which will give us an idea of what it is. So for the whole county, the biggest industry is here, physicians. Now let me just show you something that's rather fascinating. So we're going to revise our search. And this time we are going to say we want the gender to be female. And I want to find business owners. So I'm going to just say owners. Enter. Okay. There we go. When I touch it, it's going to turn blue and move it over to here. And now when I do this, I find that there are 827 businesses in Lucas County that have been identified as woman-owned. And that's not all of them, because a lot of times there's never been somebody that's gone in and done that. But let's view the results. And here they are. They're in alphabetical order. You could sort them by city, state. But let's go and look at that charts again, because you're going to see right away these three businesses, anywhere in the country I go, these are almost always the top three businesses owned by women. We can click on this. We could go look at these restaurants. So we'll do that. 54 restaurants in Lucas County that have been identified as owned by a woman. And you can see them right here. There's 3 pages of them. And there's the next one. So great. That's, what else do we get here? Well, let's look at, let's see, let's do this one. Let's do Sweet Retreat. I must be nearing dessert time, right? So when I click on it, I'm actually going to go into the data, and you can do this for any business. You can do this for Anderson's. You can do this for businesses anywhere in the country. But it's going to show me it's primarily a restaurant, but it also is an ice cream parlor. And then it has this comment, their business profile. You will adore our family-owned and operated ice cream shop. We also have a great lunch menu with takeout available. How does one get that profile in there? One calls Info Group, and you can actually talk to them, and they will put that in there. And I know this because when I was employed, when I had my self-employed business, it was called Changing Lanes, and AT&T decided it was a bowling alley. And so for years, I would get calls on Saturday. I'd be in my office, I'd pick up my phone and they'd say, do you have open bowl today? And finally, I started researching, and it, because at that point, AT&T owned the Yellow Pages, they were so prolific, people would grab the data and then repopulate it. When I had it changed in Reference USA, calling Info Group, what happened is they actually killed the one that was a bowling alley. They said it was deceased, and then put all the information in as a consulting firm. And over a period of a year, the dead one fell away and the other one stayed. And it was just like, oh my gosh, somebody can actually do it. So they're very responsive because they make their money by selling their databases. Their number one customer is Google. Google expects them to be 93% accurate. So if you take 100, if you take 1,000 names to mail and they're 93% accurate, that means you're going to get, you know, what would that be? 70 that are going to probably come back. So you just have to keep that in mind when you're doing your data, your mailings, that you're always going to get things that come back. But we get all this information. They have 10 employees. They do 518,000 in sales. So that means that most of these are part-time employees, which if you are a ice cream store, that's probably true. Credit cards accepted. This was last updated in April. We're not sure what they updated, but I'm going to just guess it was this. Because what are they saying? We also have great lunch menu with takeout available. So that's probably what happened, updated. They have an excellent credit score, and I do like to show that because if you're a small business and your credit score is average or good, it doesn't mean, a lot of times it just means that you haven't established business credit. So you haven't gotten a business loan, or you're paying all your bills when they come in. So typically when I see an excellent, it means they probably had a business loan at some time and they paid it off. Well, I remind people of that because don't be leery of a customer that, especially if it's a small business, that says it's only good. You don't have to worry about it. Okay, gives you hours, gives you the name of the owner. This is helpful when somebody is working on putting together a business plan, and if this was your competition, you're getting an idea of what their estimated annual expenditures are. There's not a lot of places you can find this. I totally ignore the sales volume and the employee size unless they are a large company, because this is not going to be accurate. But you also get to see the history, and Cindy has owned this since 2003. Another fun thing is if you really thought, well, this is a business I'm really good in this industry, like I have a marketing idea for them, you can find other places that are similar. So what you're seeing is this is pulling it all up in Waterville in White House, because the database is doing this on the size of the company. So all the restaurants about in Waterville are about the same size. Another thing is nearby businesses. So I used to find this was helpful when I was selling things. If I was going to go sell to somebody, I might want to sell to somebody in the neighborhood. So all of that data is going to be available for every company. The larger the company, the more data that's going to be available. All right, so let me just look at my list. I think that's about it, Nina, right? Oh, I don't hear you, Nina.
Yep. Well, thank you, Lena. Really appreciate that. And we really appreciate you showing our database. So what I'll do is thank you.
There's my info and Zach, who can help with the nonprofit.
Okay. Thank you.